Hello. So today we're going to be reframing reflections, exploring body image through a CBT lens. My name is Kara Dinney. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor and supervisor in the state of Maryland and DC, and also seeing clients via telehealth in Florida and Delaware. So today I'm going to give you an introduction of who I am, as well as what is body image exactly, and how does the body image spectrum work, and for practicing clinicians, how can we incorporate the use of cognitive behavioral therapy when working with individuals with body image issues or concerns. And then I'm also going to provide a couple of activities that you might be able to use with your clients, and then I'll go through some resources. So like I said, my name is Kira Dinney. I am a licensed therapist and co-founder and co-owner of Poro Wellness Practice, an eating disorder virtual program where I co-own it with a registered dietitian. And through that, we offer individual therapy as well as group therapy at times. I provide supervision and provider consultations to individuals that are looking for licensure for their LGPC to LCPC in the state of Maryland and DC. But I also work with providers of all different backgrounds, whether that's doctors, dietitians, occupational therapists, physical therapists, teachers, coaches, providing eating disorder, not only just awareness, but how to approach that with whoever their clients are. And then we also have e-courses. We currently have one on PCOS, which is done by our registered dietitian, who is an expert in that. And then we also have a podcast called Grit into Worth. And on there, we talk about all things mental health and general wellness, with sometimes a specificness of eating disorders and body image. I'm also an author of the Body Image Workbook, Redefining Confidence from Within, which I will get into a little bit later. So with all of that, let's get started. So what is body image? So often, body image comes up, whether we bring it up, whether clients bring it up, whether it comes up in our own lives, whether it comes up in our personal lives with like friends and family, whether we just hear it when we're out and about. The thing about body image is we as a society are trying to work towards, a more neutral, positive body image. And the truth of the matter is it's still very much a taboo subject. And there's expectations around like what that can actually look like, which is unfortunate. And I know for myself, like there are definitely times when I will be in session with a client who's bringing up body image, and maybe myself, I've had a bad body image day. And so it's being able to, through CBT, like I said, that's what we're going to be focusing on, being able to acknowledge but reframe those thoughts and being able to sit and be present. So let's get started. So body image is a combination of the thoughts and feelings that you have about your body. Body image may range from positive and negative experiences, and one person may feel at different times positive or negative, or even a combination of both. And this comes from the National Eating Disorder collaboration. And so we're going to get started with some statistics here. And so in a study, about 4% of a peer study, only 4% of women worldwide consider themselves as beautiful. And beautiful is very much a subjective term of what does that mean for someone. Beautiful can be maybe the way that someone feels about themselves or the way that they look. And so that is kind of maybe hard to conceptualize of like, what does that actually mean? But it is a very low number if we're looking at like 4% of women worldwide. And then Dove did a campaign where they talked about self-esteem, and they found that 8 in 10 girls opt out of essential activities due to low body confidence. So that might be activities where they're invited to go hang out with friends or a birthday party, or maybe they don't engage in a sport, or they're less likely to, just do day-to-day activities with peers. So there's also been kind of some studies where there's been maybe more some like isolation in terms of when it comes to body image. And then there was a market research from a from Intel that showed that 70% of American women feel that the fashion industry is out of touch with the real female body. And this is something that is so interesting to consider, because if you think about maybe a time that you have gone to a store and tried on the same pair of pants, the same size, that same day, they could fit completely differently. And I think that just goes to show that, clothes are made to fit us. We're not made to fit into clothes. And that's a statement I say with clients all the time is, our bodies are going to change, and also fabric's going to change in the way that, it molds or it stretches, and just really being conscientious of that. And then we also have that Glamour magazine also did a survey where women have around 13 negative body image thoughts daily. And I would guess there's probably actually higher than that. But I would say that's probably more of like the conscious thoughts that we really think about, or that maybe we give attention to. Again, I didn't do that study, so I could be very far off base with that, but that's just my observation when I think about how many thoughts that we have daily, just in general. And then when we're thinking about, a lot of these that I've talked about so far have been around women, and it is unfortunate that it is very low in the findings of how men are influenced or impacted by body image. And that could be due to just like the stigma around men and mental health and body image and eating disorders that just isn't as reported. But there is a study that YouGov did where 40% of US men feel media pressure to have a perfect body. And again, perfect body, what does that actually mean is a very much a subjective term. But men struggle with this as well, and this is not just a one person. It is a not one size fits all, and many people struggle with this, and many individuals. And then a report by Allure magazine found that only 6% of women are confident in their body image, which is really interesting when we think about like how many individuals and women or women identifying individuals are out there that feel that confidence in themselves. And confidence, or a lack thereof confidence, really impacts so many different things of our life, and we'll get into that a little bit of how body image can impact all these different life areas. And a survey by Yahoo Health also had found that 94% of teen girls have experienced body shame. And whether that is through direct communication from peers, whether that is from, unfortunately, even family members, from teachers, from coaches, from what they see on the media, there is a lot of body shame that happens that isn't always necessarily addressed. And then another, going back to that, body image can impact so many facets of our life. There was a survey by Monster. If you're familiar with that, Monster is kind of an online job platform, or a place to look for jobs. And anyways, they reported that 61% of people have felt pressured to look a certain way at work. And I know this has been talked about before, about like, what are the standards that, even in an interview, that women may need to present themselves versus, male and male identifying, and women identifying. So that's really just, again, very, I think, important to recognize how much this can really impact individuals. And so we're going to look at body image from both, what does positive body image mean, and what is negative body image. And when we think of positive body image, and again, this can look different for everyone, it can be maybe wrapped up into that you're comfortable in your body and the way that it is naturally. You know that who you are as a person has little to do with your appearance. Your worth as a person is not tied to your body, weight, shape, size, or features. And so the opposite of that would be negative body image, which is also can be known as body dissatisfaction. And this may be where you feel like your body, weight, shape, size, or even your features are flawed. You believe that you're less than, or you find yourself comparing yourself to others because of these facets that you consider flawed. You might find yourself unhappy with your body, feelings of shame and low self-esteem, unhappy with the way certain clothes look on you. And so that's just kind of a couple of the terms that we're going to be using today. So when we think of how does that impact us as individuals, or our clients, and body image, when there is negative body image, someone might be presenting with depressive and anxious symptoms. There is potentially that increased risk of suicidal thoughts. Low self-esteem has been reported with negative body image, interpersonal problems, and that can look like, you're in maybe a healthy relationship and you find it difficult to spend time with your partner because you're so self-conscious about yourself, or you're out with friends and it's hard to be present because you're worried about, okay, what are people thinking about me? Oh, I don't feel comfortable in what I'm wearing right now. I mean, all these thoughts, again, going back to that study where about 13 negative body image thoughts occur for women daily. There's probably more, but just thinking about how that can impact. Individuals may have some alcohol or drug use and abuse due to this, whether that is as a way of coping or even a way to manipulate the body. There could be reduced physical activity because it gets into that all or nothing thinking of, well, if I can't lose X, Y, and Z, then why am I even working out? Or what's the point? I'm never going to look like so and so, and it's that comparison. Individuals with negative body image sometimes have that loss of a sex drive, and that sometimes can be from the symptomologies of the depression, but also just the low self-esteem, and part of that then incorporating it to the interpersonal problems where you don't feel good about yourself, so you don't want to be intimate with your partner. Going back to that social isolation, which I mentioned before around individuals maybe not engaging in activities because they're worried about how others will perceive them, or they spent so much time worrying about what to wear, how they look, that they didn't even make it to whatever that event was. That there's also a lot of times a decreased motivation to seek help because they feel that no one understands what they're going through. They feel alone in this. Perfectionistic tendencies pop up a lot of the time with individuals with body image, negative body image. Repetitive negative thoughts that start as negative body image but then can lead to a bunch of other ones, and then disordered eating and eating disorders is a very common within body image. To have negative body image doesn't mean that you'll have an eating disorder, and just because you have an eating disorder doesn't mean you have negative body image. That's a topic for another day, but they are not necessarily hand in hand, but definitely can be present. And so on that opposite, when we think about, okay, this is what negative body image looks like, what does positive body image do to an individual? That improved mental health. There's that increased self-confidence. There is maybe healthier relationships, those interpersonal problems previously. As you build that positive body image, you are now able to be present at dinner because you're not focused on how you look or what others are perceiving of you. You're able to be present. Then there's that resilience against the societal pressures, and that goes back to that stat that I talked about where men by media feel pressured to have a perfect body. That increased happiness, enhanced performance, empowerment. Maybe there's better sexual satisfaction. There's the ability to role model what a healthy relationship with body can look like. Increased productivity has been reported when individuals have that more positive relationship with body image, greater social engagement, and again, improved physical health. And that doesn't mean that you have to have a certain body to have good health, but just that you're willing to take care of your body in the way that your body needs. And so when we think of body image, this isn't always necessarily talked about, but there are actually 4 aspects of our body image. And this comes from the National Eating Disorders Collaboration. Back in 2023, they posted about this, and that they talked about how our body image can be perceptual, affective, cognitive, and behavioral. And these can be better understood as when we think of the word perceptual, this is the way you see your body, and this is not always a correct representation of how you actually look. And then there is the affective body image, and this is how you feel. So when we think about effects, and so this feelings may include happiness or disgust, but are often summarized as the amount of satisfaction or dissatisfaction that one feels about their shape, weight, and individual body parts. And then when we're thinking cognitive, which is our brain and our thoughts, this is the way we think about our body. And this is really where we're going to focus today, since we are going to be doing a lot of explanation of like what cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT can look like in working with individuals with body image. And this can lead to the preoccupation with body shape and weight when we have that cognitive body image of the way that we think. And then there is the behaviors you engage in as a result of your image, which is also known as our behavior body image, which, we know what behavior means. When a person is dissatisfied with the way they look, they may isolate themselves or employ unhealthy behaviors as a means to change their appearances. And this goes back to maybe some of these things here where we talked about, like, maybe there is that disordered eating that comes into play, or a full-blown eating disorder, or there's the social isolation, so that's a behavior. One of the behaviors is also reduced like physical activities. One of the behaviors is maybe in involvement with alcohol or drug that is not in a healthy relationship. And so that's what we're looking at when we're talking about the 4 aspects of body image. And then, as I mentioned before, body image impacts all of our different life areas, and this is not an exhaustive list, but our body image can impact our physical life. It can impact our emotional life. It can impact our mental life, our social life, our spiritual life, our professional, and our financial, our environmental, and recreational. One of the things I really want to focus on is how it can impact our financial, because a lot of people, when I ask them about that in session, is, what do you mean? Like, how is my body image impacting financial? And there could be a magnitude of ways, but some of the ones that I've helped clients identify with is, how much money are you investing in fad diets or gym memberships that you're not even utilizing, or, clothing that you feel like you're going to be able to fit into. And those are just very small examples, or not small, but rather just some examples. There's many other ways that financial can play a role in negative body image, but those are some things that clients have identified as we've explored that. And then we're going to talk about what the body image spectrum is. And so our body image spectrum is a way to recognize that our body image thoughts are on a spectrum, and our thoughts can and do move along that spectrum all the time. If we look at a body image spectrum, your spectrum might have different titles on it, and there might be notches with words for how you feel about your body, like tolerance, interest, disconnect, or admiration. And so when a lot of people think of the body image spectrum, they think about like, oh, it's just like a flat line. It is not a flat line. Nothing in any type of mental health journey or recovery or therapy is ever linear, and that goes for our thoughts and the way that we feel about our body. One thing I really like to talk about with clients is we cannot control every time that a thought's just going to pop up. We do have some automatic negative thoughts. It's what we do with those thoughts that matter, and that is kind of something that I know we're going to talk about in a little bit later about, like, what can you do when you have these negative thoughts. But recognizing that, you might have in the morning body hate, and then during the day, you're feeling like more body liberation for whatever reason. Maybe you're accepting your body a little bit more, and then you get home after a long day and you're just like, I really don't like how I look right now. The next day, you're feeling actually good about your body. There's body respect, and then, there's body acceptance. Again, it's all like, it's just not linear about how all these things come up. Maybe there's, again, that disconnect, that loss of interest. Maybe there's just tolerance. And that's what a body image spectrum can look like. And it's not, like I said, a linear thing at all. It can change multiple times throughout your day, and it's how you address when it comes up. And so a couple of definitions that I want to go through when we're thinking of the body image spectrum, or if you are going to work with a client on creating their own kind of like thoughts on a spectrum, is having them define maybe some of these terms. And this is terms that myself and my business partner and co-founder Eden Davis created when we thought about some of these terms. And again, these terms are used out in the media and by influencers and by others in the way that they want them to be, but this is, again, our definitions of them. So when we think of the body, we think of it as the home that an individual will spend the rest of their life in, the mind, body, and soul in connection. Our bodies aren't meant to be an ornament that is stared at for value and acceptance. Our bodies do not indicate our health status. The body is our home. Our body provides for us. Our body protects us, and our body needs our acceptance. And so I really encourage, when you're starting to work with clients around body image, is having them define, like, what does body mean to you? And through that, you can actually learn a lot about how an individual views their body. And then, what is it that they're trying to reach through working on their body image or their negative body image? Are they trying to reach body acceptance? Are they trying to reach body neutrality? Are they trying to reach body respect? Are they trying to reach, body liberation? Are they trying to reach body satisfaction? What is it that they're trying to reach? And again, this is where it's important for them to define what that can look like. And these are the definitions that we came up when we were thinking about some of these terms. So body acceptance is that multi-layer approach. It's where we can't accept everything at once. We don't have to dislike or like our bodies all this time. Learning to meet the body where it is at without trying to make changes to it. And so that's what body acceptance can look like for individuals. And then there's that body neutrality. And this is viewing our body changes or our body living through an objective standpoint. It's being aware that our body changes or that our body needs without an urgency to make changes or feelings of guilt and shame. So, for example, if you're trying on a pair of shorts from last summer that don't button this year, it's not the body's or the individual's fault that they no longer fit. Neither has done anything wrong here. Bodies are meant to grow and change throughout life. The objective solution would be to find a size that fits more comfortably, and that's being more just neutral with body, not seeing it as good or bad. And then the body respect. And so we defined this as honoring and meeting your body's needs with healthy thoughts and behaviors. And this is providing and taking care of your home or your body through that nourishment and mindful movement. We don't have to be happy with our bodies or respect our bodies. Nourishment by eating throughout the day and staying hydrated are just ways of showing that body respect, taking yourself to the doctor when you need to. Maybe you're engaging in physical exercise and taking that day off if you need to. It's honoring through, stretching, gentle yoga, Pilates, enjoyable walks, and so on. If you are going to engage in mindful movement, it's doing it from the intention of, I am enjoying this physical activity that I'm engaging in, and not necessarily like as a punishment. Body respect is not deriving from, the body of, body respect is not depriving the body from the vital, nutrients, hydration, or, engaging in negative self-talk or comparison. And so that's just, again, that overview of what is body image and what are some terms around body image, what can a body image spectrum look like for individuals. And to the kind of main point of this whole presentation, which is how does cognitive behavioral therapy work when we are addressing body image? And so for those that are maybe not aware, cognitive behavioral therapy can be adapted to address body image concerns and perceptions. And there are a couple of different ways in which CBT can tie into body perceptions. When we apply CBT principles to the realm of the body image, we aim to empower individuals with practical tools to challenge those negative beliefs, build that compassion, and foster a more positive, healthy relationship with their body. So there is the identification of distorted thoughts. In this, CBT involves identifying and challenging those distorted or negative thoughts. When it comes to body image, individuals may have automatic thoughts about their appearance, and CBT helps to recognize these thoughts and evaluate their accuracy. And then there is the cognitive restructuring, and that can be when distorted thoughts are identified. We utilize CBT as a cognitive restructuring technique, which is the replacement of negative thoughts with more balanced and realistic ones. For body image concerns, this may involve challenging unrealistic or overly critical thoughts and developing a more positive and realistic self-perception. And then there can be behavioral experiments, which is to test the accuracy of those negative thoughts. In this context of body perceptions, this might involve experimenting with changes in behavior or self-perceptions to see how it influences our mood and overall well-being. There can be exposure therapy, which is another component of CBT, which involves the gradual and systematically exposing individuals to feared or avoided situations. In this context of body image, this might involve helping clients gradually confront and tolerate situations that trigger negative body images, or negative body perceptions, rather, which in fostering a more adaptive response. And then with that, so what that can look like, as we talked about before, maybe there's individuals that are avoiding going out with friends or going to a family event or going to play sports that they enjoy on a social league because they're worried about how people are going to perceive them. So how can we maybe slowly, gradually expose them to be able to engage in those things that are being impacted by their negative body image? And then we have, the processing acceptance. This is, just kind of that mindfulness techniques into body image, mindfulness and acceptance, which is integrating the mindfulness techniques of CBT, which can enhance body awareness and promote acceptance. Mindfulness encourages individuals to observe their thoughts and feelings without that judgment piece. And this can particularly be helpful in reducing the impact of negative thoughts about one's body. And then there's setting realistic goals. CBT often involves setting realistic and achievable goals, and in this context of body image, this might include setting goals for self-improvement, acknowledging progress, learning to appreciate the body for its functionality and health rather than its appearance. And then monitoring, and so that's keeping track of thoughts and behaviors related to body image that can provide valuable insights of how often are these coming up, in what situations is this coming up. And I think that can be really helpful, is to have clients do almost, which we're going to talk about, is kind of that CBT of, what are the thoughts that are coming up, what are the feelings that I'm having, and then what are the behaviors that I'm engaging in. But that first one being, what is the activating event? Is it a work event? Is it having to watch, nieces and nephews and feeling like, oh, I don't have the body to be able to keep up with them? Is it, again, a social league that you're a part of that's impacting, or that the body image thoughts are coming up the most? And so as we talk about CBT, as I kind of started talking about, is the ABC model in cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is a fundamental concept that helps individuals understand the connection between thoughts and emotions. It was developed by Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, which is a type of CBT. And so many people may be familiar with the ABC model, but I do want to go through it and kind of talk about what that can look like when we're working with individuals with body image. And so what is that activating event? What is the initial situation or trigger that's setting off the cognitive and emotional response? It could be an external event, such as a specific situation or interaction, or even an internal event, like a thought or a memory. And then what are beliefs that occur from this activating event that we're interpreting from that event? And these beliefs can be either rational, reasonable, and evidence-based, or irrational, which is unreasonable and not supported by any evidence. And that's where the irrational beliefs often contribute to the negative emotions that occur. And then the consequences refer to the emotional behavior outcomes that result from our beliefs about the activating event. Emotions and behaviors are closely linked, and irrational beliefs can lead to negative emotional responses, which in turn influences one's behavior. And so we can kind of see what that looks like here. So we have the example here where the event is a dinner party, right? And I'm sitting with a client and they're talking about, I have this dinner party and these are the thoughts that are coming up and I don't want to go to it. I'm having the thoughts that I'm not good enough. I don't want to go. I have nothing to wear. I'm not good at talking with others. I'm ugly. People are going to judge me for that. I eat when I'm there. People judge me for what I eat when I'm there. People don't want me there, and so forth. And there's so many thoughts that an individual might have about that. And so then we're going to look at, okay, so what are the emotions that are coming up in that? And maybe they're anxious. Maybe they're feeling irritable. They're feeling disgusted. They're feeling lonely. They're feeling invisible. They're feeling sad. And these, again, is just some emotions that maybe someone is feeling. And so with the thoughts and then the actions, what ends up happening? Maybe they fully just skip the dinner party altogether, or they lash out at others because of that irritability. They go and they leave early, missing out on maybe potential social interaction that they were really wanting. They go and they not talk to people, which then maybe leads to thoughts of, okay, no one's talking to me, but not recognizing that maybe they're the ones engaging in the behavior. Maybe they restrict food throughout the day, and this goes back to maybe that disordered eating or the disordered eating or eating disorder behaviors that could potentially be present with people that have negative body image. And then maybe they try on multiple outfits, and there's nothing wrong with trying on outfits to find something that you're comfortable in, but it becomes negative when they try on so many that they either miss the event or they decide not to go at all. They then get back into that negative thought pattern of like, oh, it's me, it's not the clothes that aren't fitting, and again, just not a healthy cycle. And so we'll get into like how you can stop that, but this just kind of gives a little bit of that idea of like how utilizing the ABC model can be really helpful to kind of just lay out what an individual is feeling. And then going into unhelpful thinking patterns, or as other people may know it as cognitive distortions. And this is, that shoulding and musting, jumping to conclusions, black or white thinking, personalization, disqualifying the positives, maybe there's labeling, catastrophizing, mental filter. And I know there's probably more unhelpful thinking styles or cognitive distortions out there, but these are some of the ones that we identified and what that can look like with clients. And this is really helpful when we're looking at, all of these, is when you are doing maybe the ABC model with a client, is then asking them to kind of match what unhelpful thinking style or unhelpful thinking pattern is associated with these thoughts, right? Or what unhelpful thinking style is leading to this behavior, again, which goes through that our thoughts impact our emotions, which impact our behaviors. Another thing that can be really helpful when doing the ABC model, I just want to jump back a little bit, that I've done with clients, is actually doing this backwards. That has actually proven sometimes to be much more helpful to kind of recognize, okay, wait, what is it that I did as a result of not wanting to go to this dinner party, or that this dinner party was giving me anxiety? Is looking at what was the behavior. Okay, well, how did I feel before I did that behavior? Okay, so if I was feeling this way, what was I thinking? And I think this is just a good way to recognize that individuals are all different, and that everyone processes events and situations and their thoughts differently. And sometimes starting from the last bit of it being behaviors can walk a client kind of through where it all started, if they're having difficulty identifying like what really was happening during that time. So back to this. So these are just some examples of what unhelpful thinking patterns can look like for individuals with negative body image. And so with labeling, if you're unfamiliar with it, this is when when an individual makes a judgment about themselves or someone else as a person, rather than seeing the behavior as something the person did that doesn't define them as that individual. And so this can be that example of, I'm worthless because I don't fit into X, Y, and Z size anymore. And so that can be an example of that. And then if we're looking at maybe overgeneralization, this is when a person applies something from one event to all other events. This happens regardless of whether those events or circumstances are comparable. And so this can be the example of someone having a thought, everything in my life is perfect when my body's in peak condition. And truth of the matter is, maybe that's how they feel, but let's pull that apart. Is that actually true? What did it take to get to that quote unquote peak body for you? Were you isolating? Were you engaging in unhealthy eating patterns? Were you engaging in unhealthy, movement? Okay, now that you're at this peak condition, what are you doing to maintain that? Is that going to be sustainable? And so really looking at the impact that it's, again, having on, if we're thinking back to one of those first couple of slides of how is that impacting all the different life areas that we have. Memories is a cognitive distortion that isn't always talked about, but this is when, current situations and events can trigger upsetting memories, leading us to believe that the danger is here and now rather than the past, causing the distress in an individual now. And so this could be, I can't wear X, Y, and Z because last time I did, someone made a negative body comment. I can't wear X, Y, and Z because last time that I did that, I was, catcalled. I can't wear X, Y, and Z, or I can't do X, Y, and Z because last time I went into that place, I had a bunch of negative thoughts and I ended up, engaging in unhealthy behaviors after. And so just really thinking about how an individual may utilize memories as the distortion. And then jump to conclusions is, that faulty pattern of which a person makes unhelpful assumptions that are not always supported by evidence. And so this is just, maybe someone is getting ready and thinking, people will think I'm ugly if I wear X, Y, and Z, and they're just jumping to conclusions. Or if I wear X, Y, and Z and we take photos, it's not going to look good. If I go to this event and there are people there that are in a different body size as me, I'm not going to be talked to. And it's, again, just like assuming things that haven't happened and just kind of almost like mind reading the situation, which I know is part of that jumping to conclusions. And then when we're looking at black or white thinking, this can be cognitive distortion that causes a person to see something as all good or all bad. And so this goes back to, maybe kind of thinking about that overall generalization, but this is more of I can't do X, Y, and Z ever again or never. So those keywords of like always, never, ever can be really ideal here. So this one here being I can never wear pastels again because they show sweat stains. And that may be the case for maybe that shirt, maybe not every pastel that you wear, depending on the material of clothing. And so that's really important to also consider. And then, I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are just kind of some examples of how cognitive distortions can show up for an individual. And so when we're thinking about, going back to how can cognitive behavioral therapy play a role in body image, setting realistic goals was one of those. And I like to utilize the SMART goal kind of framework. Many people may be familiar with this, and so this is the S being specific, what do I want to accomplish, what can be measurable for the M, how will I know that this will be accomplished, A being achievable and attainable, how can the goal be accomplished or attained, and then there is the R, which is how is this relevant, and then in time, right, like how long will this take or when am I hoping to accomplish this goal by? And so this is just kind of a walkthrough of what this could look like for an individual with body checking behavior. So their SMART goal is I will reduce my body checking behavior by limiting myself to checking my body in the mirror no more than once a day. So that's the specific goal that they have, is to limit their body checking to no more than once a day. And they're going to track this. They're going to measure this by tracking the progress of keeping a daily journal where they keep a record of each time that they find themselves body checking or reflecting on, and then also reflecting on how they felt before and after. And how can this be achievable? It's going to start by gradually reducing the frequency of body checking. Again, aiming to decrease it to once a day within the next month. And this is a really important part, is if we're going back to thinking about like all or nothing, we can't expect someone who's having, if we're looking at the previous stat of an average of 13 negative body image that's a day, to wake up the next day and just be like, okay, I'm only going to body check one time. That's not realistic. It's not attainable. It's not achievable. It's not sustainable. But if we are conscious of that and really checking in with how often we're having it, we can start to identify how often it's coming up and that. And so This is relevant because it's decreasing body checking will help me develop a healthy relationship with my body and improve my overall body image or general health. And then the time bound of this is an individual wanting to achieve this goal within 3 months by implementing strategies such as mindfulness techniques, positive affirmations, seeking support from a therapist or support group if needed. And so this can be, again, really helpful to identify like what will you be doing in this time to be able to achieve this. So now we're going to get into some activities that can help improve body image. So one of the activities I really like to do with clients is body identification. If you are in a virtual setting, it can be a little bit difficult, but typically what I do is I will email like a PDF of this here to individuals, and I will either have them, if they have the accessibility, to print it out or to just mark it up on that PDF there in real time together. But basically what it is that I have clients mark and highlight or color areas where they might feel uncomfortable with body features. And then another area is color or marking different areas that they are satisfied or comfortable with or neutral with. And the reason I do this at the beginning of working with individuals with body image is I will then do this at different points. So whether that is, after a month of us really working on body image, after 3 months, or after we're continuing to do more exposure. Again, going back to an individual who maybe is skipping dinner parties or going out socially with friends because they're worried about their body image. Okay, they're starting to be more exposed to that and engaging in that. Is there potentially less markings or highlighting or color areas that they feel uncomfortable with and more neutral and comfortable after they've attended, 4 different social events? And so this can be really helpful in that, just to kind of, again, if we're thinking about how can we monitor it from a cognitive behavioral lens, this can be a great monitoring tool or self-monitoring tool, especially for individuals that maybe find it hard to journal or articulate the thoughts or the beliefs that they're having. The next one I really like to do with clients, we'll do it in session together, and I usually just ask them to pull up their front camera, or if we're doing a virtual session, then I might turn my camera off just so they kind of don't feel like they're talking to me as they're doing this activity. But this is an intervention that works to break that cycle of negative body image. It's looking to confront that anxiety or shame or guilt or disgust or any of the uncomfortable feelings that one is having around their body. And it's a way to look at the body as a whole rather than focusing on parts that we dislike. And so the instructions that I have here and that I'll talk clients through is, stand in front of a full-length mirror, or again, like I said, you can use your phone and practice systematically describing your body using neutral objective language, going from head to toe, toe to head, whichever feels more safe to start with. And examples of neutral descriptions can be, what are the colors you see, the shapes, textures, measurements using neutral and objective terms. My hair is blonde, my forehead is about 3 fingers tall, my eyes are green, the clothes I'm wearing today are purple, my fingers are soft, whatever it may be. And then as I think about these descriptions, it can be helpful to build the model of their body. Examples of non-neutral descriptions that we don't want to use are like fat, too thin, ugly, gross. And you can ask a client if they're unsure if it's neutral or not, is what I'm saying right now serving me? Is it bringing up more negative thoughts or beliefs? Then probably we're not using non-neutral descriptions. Another important thing is pacing here. We want to spend the same amount of time in each area, and notice if we're avoiding any areas of our body. If we are finding that there is an urge there, practice approaching and slowing down using, again, those neutral descriptions. So if the abdomen region is challenging, let's take a deep breath. Let's focus on one thing at a time. I have a belly button. Okay, I'm taking a breath. It's an innie, is it an outie? What else do I notice about this area? Oh, I have stretch marks. You know, I have a scar from where I had surgery. What is it that you're seeing? And again, just being really objective with that. And then, conversely, if you are finding yourself spending extra time on a particular section of your body, example, your body checking, practice pacing yourself in the same way you do for a part of your body you don't check. Maybe you've spent 2 minutes on each body section, but notice you're spending more time on the arms. Take a deep breath, observe, again, that feeling and thought, and move on after 2 minutes. And then when you're finished, I encourage clients to reflect on the practice and determine, like, was this difficult for me? What was I really avoiding? Did I use neutral descriptors? Did I use more non-neutral descriptors? And again, we're going to build this activity up. A lot of times I encourage clients do this fully clothed. Obviously, if we're in session, they're fully clothed. But I also encourage clients to do this, outside of session, and I encourage them to find a time that's safe or in a safe space. If you're living with roommates and you're sharing a bathroom and you're not going to have, 10 minutes alone without someone, or 10 minutes alone in the morning because someone, needs to use the restroom too or whatever, don't do that. Don't rush yourself. Find a time where it is convenient for you. Don't do it on a day that you're already feeling bad. If you have a really bad day at work, don't go home and try this activity because you're going to be more negative because you're already kind of in that negative space, right? And slowly doing this. Maybe the first time you do it, you just set a timer for 5 minutes, spending only 1 minute on like the lower half of your body, 1 minute on the midsection of your body, 1 minute on like your neck and head, 1 minute on arms, and 1 minute on just overall appearance, right? And then maybe the next time you do it, we're building that up. And this goes back to like slowly, gradually increasing that exposure for individuals. Another activity that I like to do with clients is an anxiety brain dump. And I usually have clients do this in session so that they know how to do it outside of session. And basically the anxiety brain dump, if you're familiar with it or not, it's involving writing down all of your anxious thoughts and worries, which can help clear one's mind, bringing structure to their feelings. And by externalizing these thoughts, you're able to better identify, and challenge those irrational beliefs that are coming up around your body image. Again, it shifts the focus from maybe any of those negative thoughts to be more present in the moment. And this can enable you to concentrate on the actions and aspects of your life that you can actually control. So this is kind of a combination, I would say, of maybe some DBT if we're thinking about just being like that mindfulness, but mindfulness is a part of CBT as well. So with this, I am very structured on this because it's so easy, especially for individuals that have like rumination of body image thoughts, to spend so much time on the thoughts piece here. And so I say set a timer for 1 minute, write down whatever thoughts are coming up. After that 1 minute, go spend a minute on what are 3 to 5 things that you want to accomplish. Okay, now we're going to gratitude. What are 2 to 3 things you're grateful for in this moment? And then we go to this fourth quadrant here of, from this list up here of the 3 to 5 things that you want to accomplish, what are 1 to 2 things that you can do? And this goes back to acknowledging that we're having these maybe negative thoughts, acknowledging, okay, what can I be grateful for? What am I in this moment being present? And what can I actually do that's going to be healthy and distract me from wanting to engage in maybe unhealthy behaviors or that negative thought pattern? And so this can be a really good activity for individuals. I like to do this with individuals when they are encouraging individuals if they're getting ready to go somewhere and they're like, I don't know what to wear. Okay, let's write down all the thoughts that are coming up around what you don't feel like you know what to wear. Okay, what are 3 to 5 things you want to accomplish? And this can be, I want to brush my hair, I want to be able to put on my jewelry, I want to be able to take the dog out before I go, I want to eat something, I want to send this email. It can be things like very basic to things that, are work related to just personal related, can be whatever. Okay, what am I grateful for in this moment? And this doesn't have to be around body. This can be, I'm grateful that I'm going to this event tonight. I'm grateful that I got to talk to X, Y, and Z today. I'm grateful that I get to go to bed tonight. Whatever it is. And again, it's just being able to bring yourself back to the present. And then, okay, what are one or two things that I can do right now in this moment. Okay, I can go walk the dog. Let me go walk the dog before I find myself in this negative spiral. Let me go send that email really quick, because that's going to take my attention and my focus to something else. And so that's a way that the anxiety brain dump can play a role in that. And then one of my other ones is photo observation. So many times I have clients that are like, I won't look at photos of myself. I don't take photos of myself. I don't want people taking photos of me. I like to be the photographer. And so I will have clients do this in session. We'll talk about this activity, and then usually I will have them do it in the next one, just so they have a little bit of time to prepare. And this is to practice observing photos without negative self-judgments, focusing more on the objective details, and in efforts to promote the mindfulness and positive self-perceptions. So, I'll tell individuals next session, bring a piece of paper, pen and pencil, bring some photos, or share some photos that you're comfortable with in an email that I can pull up and share my screen in this session. And so what we'll do is, they'll select some photos, and I will sometimes have clients start with something that isn't of them. I really do like them to share a photo that they're in to help, but sometimes it is helpful to go through this activity with maybe something that isn't even tied to them at all. That may be a picture that they took, or a picture that they like of someone, or of like an event or something where you can't maybe see them. And then we'll set a timer for about 5 minutes. Again, this is to limit a focus on all the negatives, but to be really intentional with our time. And so I'll have them look at the photo and write down objective details about it, and focusing on the factual elements rather than any opinions or feelings that are coming up. So this is kind of like the mirror exposure, but it's being able to look at more elements of a photo. And so, maybe in the photo, they're outside. So the sky is blue with white clouds, or the sky is kind of like gray. It was like a little bit of a cloudy day. Maybe they're in a region of the US or another country where it's just more gray. What are some objects that are in this photo? Oh, we're outside. There's a building. There's a tree. There's a bus. There's, what are some things that are maybe in this photo? What are shapes that are in this photo? Oh, there is a leaf there. So it looks kind of like a teardrop. There is actually a big building in the back. It's a different architectural design. There is lines on the road. What are maybe some textures that you're noticing? Okay, maybe it's that kind of cold looking day. Maybe the trees look kind of crunchy. Maybe the weather just kind of looks really like crisp, and however they want to define that. In this, again, we're wanting to avoid any negative self-judgment. So if the photo is of them, resist the urge to make any of those negative comments about their appearance. Instead, noticing more of that objective of, oh, I'm wearing this color of clothing in this picture. I'm standing with my hands, my hands. I'm standing next to my dad. I am standing on a rock. Oh, look, there's a park bench behind me. Oh, there is a bird in the sky. So many different things that can play a role here. And then kind of like identifying what is the environment. And again, this is to take that moment for them to be able to focus on shifting their attention from negative thoughts to that present. And I encourage them to repeat this. Do this outside of session. Come back and tell me, how did that go? What did it feel like to look at a photo that you maybe were avoiding looking at? And again, the benefit of this is to engage individuals to help them practice mindfulness, improve their observational skills, and reduce any of that tendency of focusing on negative self-perceptions. So that is kind of it for how CBT and can play a role in developing a healthier relationship with body. I'll go over a couple of resources that are out there that can be helpful if you are wanting to build your knowledge of working with body image, or maybe you already work with individuals' body image and you're not familiar with some of these things that are out there. And so if you have not read More Than a Body, this is an incredible book by Lindsay Kite and Lexi Kite. Lindsay Kite and Lexi Kite. And this book I've used with clients. There's the Body Image podcast with Corrine Dobus. There's our podcast called Grit into Worth. There is the National Eating Disorder Association, which has a bunch of resources on their website. There's the book Body Kindness by a registered dietitian, Rebecca Schitzfield. There's Body Respect, which talks about kind of how, health is within, society and ways that we can approach that. There's the Center for Body Trust if you want to kind of be certified in being a body image provider. And then lastly, we have our Redefining Confidence from Within digital workbook, which is on our website. And some of the activities that were in this presentation are actually in there. This workbook that we have is designed for clients, but we also encourage providers to get it as well to be able to walk clients through it. If you were to purchase the workbook, or a client purchase it and you want to be able to kind of better understand how to support them, please feel free to reach out to us. We love to set up a Zoom call for like 30 minutes and kind of walk you through the book and explain, things that you can do if you have questions about it. You can do that, or if you just want to use it for yourself, we definitely encourage that as well. But thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking about body image today. I could talk about it forever. We talked about it just from the CBT lens. I could talk about it from the acceptance commitment therapy lens, from dialectical behavior therapy. So again, like I said, I do provider consultations. So if there are any questions you have, or if you have clients that are struggling with body image and you're not sure what to do, because it is, like I said at the beginning, a very taboo subject. It's a very uncomfortable subject sometimes. It can be difficult to know what to say to clients. If we ourselves are maybe having struggles with our own body image, whether that's all the time or even just in that moment. So again, feel free to reach out, and thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this continuing education course from Agents of Change. Want to earn your CE credits for this course? Visit agentsofchangetraining.com or the link in the description to purchase the course and take the post-test. If you're looking for more CEs, check out our unlimited plan. You will get unlimited access to 150 plus ASWB and NBCC approved continuing education courses for one low annual fee. We're always adding new courses. Did I mention we also have 5 free CE credits available too? Check it out at agentsofchangetraining.com.